Fala pessoal, bem-vindo ao podcast Seu Cliente e hoje estamos internacionais. Veio um convidado super especial aqui gravar com a gente hoje e também convidei um co-host hoje comigo também, Bruno Scott. Primeiro dá o prazer para o Bruno Scott em português, né gente? Para a gente começar na nossa língua.
Muito obrigado, Bruno, pelo convite. É muito especial estar aqui, é uma oportunidade fantástica. Então, assim, muito obrigado mesmo.
Valeu demais, Bruno Scott, especialista também em experiência do cliente, vai contribuir bastante com a gente, é um grande amigo meu. E venho convidar aqui também Lincoln Murphy, quem não conhece, é o maior especialista de CS do mundo. Acredito que você já leu o livro dele, que é o mais vendido dentro da categoria. E é um prazer ter você aqui. Nice to meet you, Lincoln.
Oh, nice to meet you. Nice to be here.
Oh, and talk for us about the customer success. Tell about your career. Everybody wants to hear you.
Tell your story.
Okay. Oh, well, I mean, okay, so my story is that a long time ago, I was trying to figure out how to grow a business from within the customer base. Like I wanted upsells and I wanted to make more revenue from our existing customers. Seems like a pretty easy thing to do, right? You just try to sell your customers more stuff. But it turns out, in order for that to actually happen, they have to be getting value. They have to be getting something from your relationship. Again, pretty obvious. But at the time, it wasn't so obvious. And so I started looking around, started searching for something. And one of the things I realized was when we say they have to be getting value from the relationship with you, that we didn't really have value as defined. It was just this sort of like, oh, are they getting value or are they not? And nobody really knew what that meant. So I stumbled upon people talking about making the customer successful. And I thought, that's cool. I think that means something. I think we can maybe quantify that. And you say, well, couldn't you quantify them getting value? So maybe, but value also tends to just sort of focus only on maybe like ROI, the return on the investment. I think there's more to it than that. Like the customer's getting something more than just value. And that's where success just kept coming back into my head. And then at some point, I found a little community talking about that. And I said, okay, I think for this to be a thing, we need to make customer success like a proper noun. Like I capitalized the C and the S, like that's my contribution. But once you do that, once you make it a thing, people can start to like rally around it. And then it just started to grow from there. And people were like, okay, this is really cool. And then we start thinking about how to build operations around it and what it really means. And that's probably been 15 years. And here we are. But that was like the origin story. I was already trying to do growth with the existing customers, and I just needed something that would sort of get us there.
Yeah, and it's something very new for us. 15 years, it's not too old. But you said on Saturday for us that something changed from 15 years ago. And what's the newest thing in the customer success in the last years with the AA?
Yeah, I mean, okay, so customer success has evolved significantly. At the beginning, I think we were more along the lines of something you would call just account management. And even account management is like, well, what does that mean? I mean, so what it meant back then was really just sort of checking in with customers, seeing if they, seeing how they were doing. But like that was it. There wasn't a lot of really being proactive and like moving them from where they are to where they need to go. It was more like, okay, they became a customer. Let's just kind of make sure that everything is okay. But again, that wasn't even something that was really defined. And then you start defining that. Well, what does okay mean? And then, what does getting even better mean? And then what does actual success mean? And then you have to say, well, there's got to be a process there, a journey. We hear the term customer journey all the time. But very early on, I realized that a lot of times that's just talking about the customer maybe continuing to pay us. And maybe they're using the product, but we don't really know exactly what's going on there. So we had to start figuring out what does it actually take for the customer to, once they sign up, to get to a point where they are successful. And so you have to say, well, what is success? That's probably them achieving their goal. So, their objective, and within a particular time frame. And then doing so with an experience that is appropriate to them. It's one thing to achieve a goal. It's another to achieve a goal in a way that makes you feel good, makes you feel successful. So there's two parts to it. So customer success is not just getting a customer to do the thing that they need to do. It's making sure they get it in the way that is appropriate to them.
And a lot of people confuse be happy to bring happiness for the customer,
yes.
But it's different, the success, right?
Yeah, and so that was the other thing. Kind of early on, was checking in with customers and essentially making sure they were happy. And so early customer success tools were just sort of something that you could keep track of whether or not they were satisfied. Which again, that's a part of it. That's an important input. But what we found is you can have happy customers who will leave, and you can have unhappy customers who will stay longer, buy more, and you're like, this doesn't make any sense. Well, the reason it doesn't seem to make sense is that we sort of, I don't know, we confuse happiness with success. Sometimes customers are not emotionally happy. They're, for whatever reason, they're never going to be emotionally happy. They might not give us a good NPS. They might not give us good satisfaction scores. But if you look at their actual use of the product, you look at their actual, what they're getting from this, they're quite successful. And very often these customers are the ones that are buying more. And some of them will even be our biggest advocates. But I can't actually get from them anything that says that they're satisfied. And sometimes that's just customers that just always expect more. They want more from you. That's not always the case, but what it showed me early on is we can't solve for just happiness. We can't solve just for satisfaction. Satisfaction is an incredibly important signal, but it's just one. The other signal that really matters is, are they doing the things they need to do to get that result that they're looking for, to achieve their goal? Because if a customer is just satisfied, but they're not achieving their goal, they're probably not going to stick around. But on the flip side, a customer that's achieving their goal, but they're not satisfied, they're also probably not going to stick around. At some point, it's going to be too much. They're going to say, I've gotten these results, but it's just not, something's off. And so you have to solve for both. That's why customer success is their goal plus appropriate experience.
Yes, very nice. And you said about the NPS. What do you think about this? Because in Brazil, a lot of companies only use NPS and they think they are great because NPS it's the best.
Yes.
And what do you think about this? Which of KPIs do you suggest the companies to look?
Yeah, so just like probably any metric, I mean, NPS is just one of several that we need to pay attention to. My problem with NPS has never been a problem with NPS. It's a problem with how people use it. It's net promoter score, net promoter system. Well, okay, so the P in there is promoter, right? And it's basically asking people on a scale of 0 to 10 or 1 to 10, depending on how you implement it, how likely are you to tell a friend about this product? Well, what we do is we usually get people, who give us a low score, what we call a detractor, and we freak out and we focus only on those.
Yeah. And
then how we actually handle that is again, that's usually not done well. We scramble, we freak out, we go back, we make concessions, we give them discounts, we do all these things, rather than trying to understand the root cause and get them back on track. But my biggest problem with NPS is just that it's usually only focused on the detractors. And there's this whole other part of it, and hopefully a bigger part, but it doesn't matter. If you have any people who are promoters, those are the people that you could leverage to go out and spread the good word for you, to leave reviews, to be testimonials. But very often, somebody says that they would be a promoter. We go, okay, cool. They're happy or they're satisfied. thankfully, that's awesome. I feel good. And then I go back to focusing on the detractors. It's like, wait a minute. All they did was raise their hand and say, I would be a promoter. They didn't. So we're missing out on a huge opportunity to engage them to go leave us a review or be a testimonial or do a case study with us. Or if they are unwilling to do anything in public, would they be a behind the scenes reference for us?
Yes.
Right. So there's so many ways that you can and should be using NPS. So my problem has never been with NPS. Some people have said, "Oh, you don't like NPS." No, it's great. It's a great
How you use
input.
it.
It's all about how you use it, and if you're using it right, it's super powerful. But it also has to be used in conjunction with an understanding of whether the customer is getting their goal.
It's not only the NPS.
Correct. Yeah, but it's an incredibly powerful signal. And then it's an even more, I should say this, it's an incredibly powerful signal if you then use it the right way.
Yeah, perfect.
Yes. And I think when we are a promoter, we don't like to write and to say this, but when we are a detractor, we want to say this.
Yes.
I think this is one of the points in the Net Promote Score that it's not so good.
Yes. I mean, so people who are upset are far more likely to take the time to let you know just how upset they are and why they're so upset. You kind of have to have somebody who had an amazing experience, something like, not just what they expected, but something, above and beyond for them to leave you or to even fill out the survey and to give you a high score. Because if it was a great experience, maybe that's just expected. That's what we say. Those are table stakes.
Yeah,
that's the baseline, right? So why should I tell you? Yeah. Why should I tell you this was great? Because that's what I expected.
Yes.
It's when you deviate from that expectation that I want you to know about it. So we have to do things like, maybe remind people to leave us an honest review, or you're going to get a survey. I really want you to leave us an honest review or honest feedback. But you have to be careful you're not gaming the system. That said, I sometimes game the system, whereas I'm not going to ask you to do an NPS or any other CSAT if I know that you had a bad experience. And right there, people go, "Oh, Lincoln, you're ruining the whole thing." Maybe, but I want people to have a reason to fill out the survey that isn't always just negative. Here's the thing: if I can see a customer's progress, or I know that this customer had a bad experience, I don't necessarily have to ask them about that. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not saying you ignore them. I'm saying you just intervene in different ways. So you go to a restaurant and it's very clear that things went wrong. This customer had a bad experience. The person that is sort of in charge during that dinner service realizes this person had a bad experience. Are they going to go up to them and say on their way out, "Hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, right?" No, you're not going to do that.
And just a point, you talk about restaurant. What do you think about Belo Horizonte restaurants? The experience was good. Yesterday we went in a barbecue here.
We had a barbecue, yes.
And what do you think about the experience? It's a curiosity.
It's a good question.
It was absolutely amazing. And I mean, first of all, the entire experience was amazing. And they have, this particular restaurant has everything well orchestrated. I mean, they greet you right when you come in. You sit down, and within a minute, you have a plate in front of you, and all various types of meats coming your way. So like the experience was amazing, and there were about 3 or 4 different people working with us, and you could tell at least one of them was maybe a manager or some little higher level. They knew exactly the experience we were having. They knew our body language. They knew how much that you could just tell, right?
Yeah.
There was no need to survey from that standpoint.
Yeah.
Now, if they wanted to survey, they could, and we would probably be more likely to give them high scores. But if in that same scenario, like they noticed, like we were not having a good experience, body language is off. We're upset with the people that are bringing the food around. You definitely don't want to survey those people because it's very clear that they were having a bad experience. But that doesn't mean you ignore it, right? The maitre d' or whoever comes over and says, listen, it's very clear that you guys didn't have a great experience. I want you to come back again. I want you to come back on with our compliments, and I want you to enjoy it. For whatever reason, it just didn't work out this time, and that would go so much further. By the way, that's also probably going to help them avoid any public bad reviews, right? It's like, yeah, we acknowledge that the experience was off, but the thing about NPS, the thing about customer satisfaction surveys and things like that, they're really good when you don't have the other inputs. And in a lot of like transactional businesses, high volume businesses that are still transactional, but it could be membership businesses where you don't have like visibility into how somebody's doing. So a gym, perhaps, right? I have a membership, so I have an ongoing commercial relationship with you. But other than that, maybe you can see, how often I come to the gym. You really don't know what my overall experience is. And so surveying from that standpoint is super important because you don't know what you don't know. It's just that sometimes we do know, and we kind of default to surveys, and we default to things that are, it's almost like it's easier to just sit back behind some emails that are going to go out than to just talk to the customer. So there's a time and place for everything. And I mean, like I said, I think the surveys are best when you don't know what you don't know. And, NPS was created actually not that long ago, like 2001 or something like that?
Yes.
Seems like it's one of those things that's been around forever. Like in the 1800s, some guy invented it, for trains. I don't know. Like how did you enjoy my train ride? But no, it was in the 2001, and it was for Enterprise Rent-A-Car. And this was a somewhat transactional business. And they were like, we don't know how much people like their experience with us. But you fast forward to today, we have so much information, so much data on our customers. We probably know a lot more than we do know a lot more than we did, certainly back then. And so again, you have to look at all the context clues. And so I like to say, you can look at all of the sort of proprietary data and stuff about your customers and their progress and everything. And then you stack on top of that customer satisfaction. Like now you have the whole picture, right? And so that's I think that's how I look at it.
Well, we are talking your perspective by a customer in the restaurant. Mm-hmm. And I remember in the workshop, you bring us 3 different things that the client hates. And I would like to listen here to the people listen as well.
Yeah. Okay. So, and I want to be really clear. We say these are 3 things that people hate. That's a very strong word, but that's because you will have what we say a visceral reaction, a deep like physical reaction to some of these. There are people that at least with one of these, and I just learned this not that long ago, and it was like, wow, kind of validating for what I'd been saying, but it was kind of also sad. Customers hate 3 things. That is surprises, unknowns, and repeating themselves. And I want to be really clear. Surprises, I'm not talking about if you're going to surprise me with a birthday party. That's probably okay. All right. But if you're going to surprise me with
another tax, another price to pay,
something, I'm probably not going to be as happy about that. Unknowns, I sign up for your product, and then it's like, okay, I don't know where we go from here. It was really exciting during the sales process, and we got this, a lot of, like we were really vibing, like everything was cool. And then I sign up, and then you go away, and now I don't know where I'm going from here. And, when do I go into onboarding? And so that unknown, and that's the unknown is actually the one that some humans have a very real, like physical reaction to the unknown. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And when I learned that, I was like, man, that's interesting and really powerful. And then repeating themselves, that's exactly what it is. It's I talk to the salesperson, and I tell them my story, and they say, great, they use that. And then go into onboarding. Onboarding doesn't have that relationship with me. So they ask me the same questions, and I'm like, okay, so I'm going to tell this person the same stuff I already told the salesperson. And then I go on to I go from onboarding to the customer success manager. And guess what? I have to repeat myself. At that point, I'm like,
our story, or what you do, everything.
It's like, oh my God, this is why is this happening? It's just a horrible way to start a relationship. And so you want to make sure you can avoid that. But a lot of times in customer success, there's things, especially, the handover from sales to onboarding, onboarding to customer success manager. We have the ability to sort of invoke all three of those things. And so I always tell people, look, go look at the processes you have in place. Go look at all of your systems, all of your communication. Are you creating a situation where your customer could feel surprised? They could feel like there's unknowns, or they have to repeat themselves. If you have any of those things, you need to fix that right now.
Yes. Yeah. That's why you need a customer relationship management.
Yes, exactly. So no, for real. If sales knows something, that needs to be put somewhere, that it's some sort of customer relationship management software, so that then the onboarding person can look at that.
Yes,
but here's the
he can because a lot of time they don't.
Yes,
right. And that's the thing. At least it's there. And then the next step is to actually use it, which goes back to what we were just saying earlier. Like, it's not just having the data or having that tool. It's like you have to actually,
Yes. I will just explain for people who are watching us. Scott foi professor da PUC Minas de CRM. Eu conheci ele, né, dando aula de CRM. Eu agora sou professor de CRM na matéria que ele dava.
Passamos o bastão, né?
Passamos o bastão de uma pessoa para outra. E só explicando também dos nossos patrocinadores, né? A gente tem Outbox, que ajudou a trazer o Lincoln aqui para o Brasil. Fez eventos com ele, tanto o Espírito Santo quanto o Rio de Janeiro. Tem Mineirix, que é uma super parceira também, faz um mega evento e traz esse jeitinho mineiro junto para toda a parte, né, de sucesso do cliente. E a Seu Cliente Oculto, né, que é a minha empresa, em que a gente faz, né, todas as avaliações de cliente oculto e trazemos esse olhar do cliente de sempre escutar a melhor pessoa ali em qualquer lugar do Brasil para falar como que está a experiência do cliente. I was just explaining for everybody about the three companies and about Scott too.
Yeah, no, that's good.
We bring you.
Yeah,
we brought you to Brazil.
Brought me to Brazil. It's been amazing. I've been here 10 days, I think, and 3 events, and just a lot of great experience. So I would give this a 10.
Yes.
But it's been absolutely amazing, and I love coming to Brazil. And I don't come here enough. So you got to figure out how to get me back.
Yeah, I told you need to be back in the carnival.
Yes.
Yes, it's very good. And another workshop.
For sure.
The workshop at Saturday on Seu Cliente Oculto was awesome. Everybody liked it a lot and was very good. Thank you again.
We received a lot of feedbacks, good feedbacks.
Yes.
Good. I mean, I appreciate that. From my perspective, it was amazing, and the turnout was phenomenal. So yeah, I mean, I'd love to do more of that. Because I think, like we're talking about, customer success is continuing to evolve. And I've been doing this a really long time. And some people like to, look at me as one of the pioneers in customer success or whatever. In Brazil, o Papa do Sucesso.
Yes.
Yes.
But I'm also, kind of a realist. Like, everything is changing constantly. And so even though I'm the reference in a lot of ways, I am still always evolving my understanding. So, if you've done a workshop with me, a couple of years ago, and you're like, oh, here, I already know what this guy's going to say. I'm like, you probably don't. A couple of years, things have changed so much. And they always are constantly changing. And my workshops are always constantly changing because that's the reality. and we're always trying to figure stuff out. And then as new technologies come along, AI and more automations, that necessarily at least influences the conversation a lot of times, because it's like, well, how do we incorporate those things into customer success? So right there, as long as technology is changing, even if our core understanding of customer success doesn't change, there's all of these things around it that would change how we approach it. But that said, even our core understanding of customer success evolves.
Yeah.
And the more I learn, the more I know there's so much more to learn. I don't think I'll ever be just done with this. I mean, and honestly, if we ever get to the point where customer success is just, it's stopped evolving, we know everything there is to know, then that's probably when I'm done.
And how often do you study? Do you like to read books, to listen podcasts? What do you do and how often?
I probably study half my day.
Great.
It's too much.
It's probably too much, but let me be really clear. That's not half of an 8-hour workday, because I don't really ever stop working. So
12 hours.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm always trying. So in the things that I study, this is the thing. People are like, oh, what customer success, books or whatever are you reading? It's like, I don't. What I study is human behavior. So I'm always I read anything I can get my hands on, books, blogs, whatever, podcasts, anything to do with understanding why humans do what they do. That's my focus. Yeah. Because even again with AI and whatever, as we still sell to humans, and whether you're literally a business to consumer model or a B2B where you sell to large enterprises, you are selling to humans. We sometimes think, well, no, but my company the company that I'm selling to is, this really big international conglomerate. And you're like, okay, but there's people that actually work in that company, and those are the people that you.
A lot of people use the B2B, B2C, but a lot of people says human to human.
Yes.
So
it's very nice.
That's it.
Yeah.
But it's more common to see a customer success area in B2B companies, right?
Than a B2C.
Yes.
Yes, for sure. I think that there's a lot of opportunity though to have customer success in a lot more companies than there currently are. Like right now, probably still the majority of customer success is in technology, and then it's in SaaS. And we've talked a lot on.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yes.
I mean, gyms, like there's so many places where this could be the approach. The example I was giving is so I do jujitsu. And I watch the school that I go to and how they bring in new students, and it is the opposite of customer success. Because there's and so a lot of different industries are going to have these nuances, but probably jiu-jitsu is a very unique one in that it's a martial art, right? So there's like this aspect to it where it's about being tough and strong and whatever. And then there's the business aspect. And so what'll happen is a new student or a free trial student will come in, and they will just put them right into a class with people that have been doing this a really long time. And the type of jiu-jitsu I do, you don't wear the kimono. You just wear like basically what looks like wrestling clothes. So we don't have our rank just right there on us. Mm-hmm. And so you'll get a new student. So I'll wrestle with somebody and I'll be like, oh, this person doesn't really have any skills. And so I try to treat them nice. And if I'm able to catch them in a hold, I will kind of release the tension and then try to teach them how to get out of it. Right. But some of the students, they're going to be like, oh, this guy's easy to beat, and they'll beat him up, and not beat him up, in a horrible way, but like they're not going to let his time there be pleasant. And guess what? That person is going to be like, wow, jiu-jitsu is hard. It's not for me. Everybody's mean, and they're going to leave. Well, that's a terrible onboarding experience, right? And you kind of luck out if that new student gets with somebody like me who kind of cares about the fact that, I want them to have a decent experience and maybe come back. But from a business standpoint, there's no process. And if they had a process where a new student comes in and they say something like, hey, what brought you in today? Like, what made you get up off of your couch and walk through the doors of a jiu-jitsu gym? Like, what was that? And they might be like, oh, I watched it on UFC or, whatever. I'd be like, okay, cool. But for you, I mean, lots of people get introduced to it these ways, but what's your goal here? Like, and like, well, maybe I want to get in good shape. Like, okay, awesome. We all want to get in good shape, but what's really going on there? Well, I have my brother's wedding coming up in a couple of months.
Congratulations.
Yeah. And I really want to look good for his wife. Be like, wait, what?
No, it's not him.
No judgment.
Not him.
But I want my brother's wife to think twice about her decision. Anyway, so you learn what the real reason is, right? And then you could say, all right, so what I want you to do over the next week during your free trials, I want you to go to a no-gi class. I want you to go to a regular class in the kimono, and I want you to figure out which one you like best. And then I'm going to follow up with you after that second class, and we'll figure out what your plan is. And then, after that second class, text them and say, hey, how was it? How was the kimono class? And then which did you prefer? Oh, I like the no-gi. Okay. So, we have this on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, and I recommend you come at least twice a week to start. And then, when you come in, we'll have a discussion. And they come in for that first no-gi class, maybe as a new student that they signed up. And we say, listen, in order for you to reach your goal, you're going to need to come to class, like I said, at least twice a week. And you're going to need to do that every week. But you're also going to have to watch your diet, and you're going to have to do some other exercise if you want to want to reach your goal. If we did that, and then we had periodic, literally just check-ins with the students to be like, how are you doing? Are you on track for this goal? I think that would be so powerful, but that's not how that works. And because of that, their churn rate is insane. Yeah. And they chalk it up. Here's the thing. And I know that some people are like, I don't do jujitsu, this doesn't matter. But I always say in the specific is the universal. So what I'm talking about here with jujitsu may not apply directly to you, but if you think about how this might play out in your business, a lot of the things are still there. One of the problems with jujitsu is if somebody stops coming, and we didn't do all the stuff we're just talking about there, when somebody stops coming, we go, they just weren't tough enough. Right? It's them. They couldn't handle it. Instead of us taking responsibility, be like, what could we have done better to make this a more welcoming environment and to help them achieve their goals? But we didn't know what their goals were. We never talked to them about that. And we never got that feedback also on how are you feeling? Are you feeling like supported, or are you feeling kind of just left on your own and you kind of are fighting for your life all the time? So that's something that's been top of mind with me, because I see that every day when I go to.
No, that's why I love this question and that view that you put, Bruno, because I see and speak it. I always have this kind of view, and we were talking about that. In my perspective, the customer success started to look into the other type of markets. Yes. And it's so easy to see the evolve and the perspective to this kind of different business. It's not just SaaS. It's everywhere. It's everything. And we talked about gym centers, and I said about the barbershop, because I bought about a barbershop and started to see and put inside in my business all the things that I saw and worked in the CS from SaaS, but it's everything's perfect to the barbershop and the other marketplaces we can even imagine. So it's perfect.
Well, and the reason is you have humans as your customers.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the stuff is pretty much universal. How you're going to put it in place is going to be different, but it's totally possible, and it's available to you if you just think about it and you recognize that this could apply in my business.
Yeah.
Yes. And my wife, it's open a gym because of this.
Perfect.
She wants to put all of the CS KPIs and know-how in this new business.
My first graduation was in physical education.
Yeah.
So for me, the CS born in gym centers, in my perspective, of course, because I can see everything that Lincoln says about the onboarding. We have onboarding, you have all the what you want to achieve. We have the success of the customer to achieve. So what can I do for him?
Yeah.
So it's so perfect. It's so perfect.
We were talking about this. I have a concept I call joint accountability.
Yeah.
And that's where, very simply, if you customer do what you need to do, and we lay it out for you, and then we as the vendor do what we need to do. If we both do those things, the customer is going to achieve their goals, right? But we have to make sure the customer understands that they have to do these things. Well, that actually comes from, so my mom has a gym, and she called me up one time. So she caters to older women, very specific niche, but it's perfect. And she called me up one time crying, and I was like, "Oh no, who died?" But she was like, "No. A customer or a member just yelled at me." And I said, "Oh man, what happened?" Well, this lady had wanted to fit into a dress for her daughter's wedding, and guess what? She didn't. And so who did she blame? My mom. And she was so upset, and she yelled at my mom in front of all the other members and stormed out, and it was just this big scene. So talking to my mom got her to kind of, get it out of her system. And then I said, okay, so now we're a little bit past that, the emotional part. Let's look at this objectively. Whose fault was it? I mean, was it your fault or was it her fault? And she said, it was her fault, because she comes into the gym 3 times a week for 45 minutes a time. The rest of the time, and some days 24 hours.
Yeah, it's nothing more than 5% of her time. So.
Exactly. The rest of her time is on her own. So I said, okay, so that means she's eating whatever she wants, or who knows what she's eating, right? Who knows what other activities she's doing. So I said, let's put together a food and activity journal for your students. So every Friday or Saturday, whatever the last day of the week is, they have to bring to you their journal of what they ate, of what other activity they did, what they drank, what they smoked, whatever, just everything. And if they are doing things they shouldn't be, then we can coach them and correct them. And if they are on track, then great. So she rolled that out, and probably 90% of her members said, not going to do that. I don't care. I don't come here for results. I come here for the community. I like everybody here. This is like my group, right?
Their success is
just is them being there, right? Yeah. But for the 10% that wanted to get results, this helped. And did everybody get the results they wanted? No, but they knew why. Because they wrote down what they ate, and they ate a lot of food that they shouldn't be eating, and they didn't do any other exercise. And it was very clear. They took responsibility for their actions outside of the gym, and they didn't blame my mom. And so since then, nothing like that ever happened. She's lost customers from just, maybe they can't afford it anymore, but even then, the secret is if they come to her and say, I can't afford it, she says, just keep coming.
Very nice.
Because usually it's like, their husband died and now they can't afford it. And she's like, if you stop coming, you're going to die. So keep it between us, but you can keep coming. But she's never had anybody sort of blow up at her and blame her for that. And I said, you know what? That would work in SaaS. That would work in customer success.
Yeah.
And so I started implementing that as this concept of joint accountability. And that is probably one of the most powerful levers we have, is to lay out very clearly with the customer, this is your responsibility. This is what you need to do. And especially where you have situations like this, sometimes our customers have things that they need to do outside of our product in order to have things set up properly in the product. And those things that they have to do outside the product, we don't have visibility into, we don't have control over. So we really have to help them understand that this is critical. And it's funny, in a lot of cases, and it's not funny, but it's interesting that in a lot of cases, the companies I work with, they know there's certain things that customers need to do sort of on their own outside the product, but they don't really understand what those are. And they certainly don't do enough to empower the customer to do those things. And yet those things like, gathering data, pulling together business rules, just talking to people internally, like there's various things. Those things are absolutely critical, but we have no visibility or control over it. So we just kind of hope it happens. And yet those are the things that are often they're going to make or break the entire process. So you have to understand all of that, put joint accountability into place, and your customer success initiatives are going to be so much more powerful and successful of themselves.
Yes.
Very good.
And Lincoln, what do you think about Secret Shopper that it started in the USA, we bring to Brazil, and what do you think about this kind of project?
I love it. I didn't tell you this. I was a secret shopper a few times.
Oh, yes.
Like, I remember.
Me too.
Yeah. Okay. I remember maybe in high school.
Yeah.
I needed some extra money, and
it's very common in high school.
Yeah. I remember doing that. I think it's a fantastic idea. On the workshop on Saturday, I asked the question, how many people have signed up for their own product recently?
Yeah.
Right. And I think we had one hand.
Yeah.
And then I was like, do they not understand? But no, that was a legitimate.
Translate correct?
Right. Is this, am I saying, no, but it was literally one person. And so I think right there, we very often don't know what our customers are experiencing. And then of course, if we go through it, and there's gaps in the process, we know what those gaps are and we can fill them. So having someone that's a disinterested third party who has no investment and no, they have no ties to this product or this service, having them go through that process and then tell you what that's like is so incredibly powerful. So I love the secret shopper idea. That's really, it's one of those things that I would have taken for granted would already have been in Brazil, right? It's just because don't take this the wrong way. I mean, it's so obvious, right? But sometimes the obvious things are not done. So the fact that you saw it as a need here and you brought it, that's super cool because it is such an incredibly powerful, it's an incredibly powerful intel, right? And of course, then you have to do something with it. But yeah, I love that. And I think that's a super cool aspect to your business. So.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah.
And I think it's similar to the Net Promote Score. You need to do the secret shopper, but after you have a lot of goals and you need to do action. Mm-hmm. If you don't do
yes,
it's not enough.
Exactly. And Scott and I were talking about the fact that in some cases, if all I'm getting are like negative reviews or I'm getting negative feedback, secret shopper is telling me that it was a bad experience.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to do with that information. I become a churn threat for you because it's like all I'm getting are these negative signals and I don't know what to do about it. So being able to help help your customer understand when you have a detractor or when you have this negative feedback from a secret shopper, like it's really all it is just it's a signal in and of itself. Even though it's a negative, it's actually neutral. It's just data. It's just a signal, and we should not respond emotionally to it. And it's just like, all right, well, what do we do with that information? There's a logical progression that must start once that negative review comes in or that negative feedback from the secret shopper. And that way you're actually acting on it. Because if the only thing that's happening is my inbox is stacking up with detractors and negative reviews, at some point I might want to turn that off. And rather than do something about it. So yeah, you got to close that loop. And I think that's also a huge opportunity for you. Just making sure that people are doing something with that information. But the fact that they're getting that information, the fact that they're signing up for that means that they understand, at least initially, they understand the value. So it's like, all right, cool. How can we turn this into real value for the business? So
very nice.
Yeah.
Scott, do you want to do the last question?
Oh, come on. I didn't think about it.
There we go, man. No pressure.
Okay. A little one. I think you're going to say fast, I think. In the workshop, you talked about a comparison about sales who do projects, the results, and the CS, it's the upside down. So you do everything after something happens, after you know your customer. And how do you can see, or when you can think is the best way to do to change the mindset of the CEO of the company?
Yeah, I mean, just I think let's just key in on that part of it, because one of the things was so Bruno, when you did a kind of opening presentation about just kind of about your company and what you do, and it was really cool because you as part of that tied back the NPS stuff and the secret shopper stuff. You really tied it back to the business metrics. Right. And so I thought I saw that. So then when I came up and I started the workshop, I was like, that was fantastic. Let's start there, because it's really important that what we do in customer success is tied back to, or is very clearly contributing to, the business outcomes of the company, the KPIs, the things that matter. I mean, with customer success, if you're talking about software as a service, the main KPIs are something like net revenue retention or customer lifetime value. But those similar metrics apply in every business. Okay, customer lifetime value definitely in every business. Customer success directly impacts those KPIs, and it's like kind of obvious, right? If I can get customers to stay longer, buy more, and advocate for us, if they stay longer, just the fact that they're simply staying with us longer, doing business with us longer. And if you have a transactional business, it just means that they keep coming back and buying something from you. That increases the lifetime value of that customer because the lifetime was increased. But then if you're getting customers to buy more over that extended period of time, so they're buying add-ons, they're buying additional capacity, they're buying adjacent products, and they're doing that over now this extended lifetime. Now you are growing the lifetime value of the customer, not just incrementally, but exponentially.
Yeah.
And of course, what comes with that is just revenue. And then if they stay longer, then your churn goes down. Like that's the opposite of staying longer is churn. And then if we do it right, they're advocating for us, right? So they're not just giving us a high NPS, but they're saying, they give us a high NPS. That means they're a promoter. I reach out and I say, hey, you said you would promote us. Will you leave us a review here, whatever? And then that makes the sales process easier, because it's just easier to sell a customer when there's a lot of positive sentiment in the marketplace. So all of those things that customer success does directly roll up to these very critical KPIs like NRR and LTV. And why that matters? Because those are the metrics that investors, boards, potential acquirers, anybody who's trying to put a value on your company looks at those metrics.
Perfect. Yeah.
So we have to understand, what am I saying here? Customer success directly impacts the value of your company. So the next time somebody's sitting there going, oh, customer success, that's just where you make customers happy, right? Say, no, man, customer success is where we drive the value of this company. Yeah. That's a completely different approach and a completely different mindset. And when you have that, it changes the way you look at customer success. And more importantly, it changes the way everybody else looks at customer success. Okay. So if you want customer success to be taken seriously in your business, speak the language of those KPIs, and your CEO, your CRO, your whoever else, your board, they're going to look at customer success. They're going to take it serious. They're going to want to invest in it because they see it as a growth mechanism. If you're over here just saying customer success is making customers happy and it's just this fluffy, whatever thing where we just make customers happy, it's going to be looked at as a cost center, and it's just not strategically important, and you might end up getting cut. So the way you approach customer success, making sure that you understand that it is a growth mechanism and it is literally the driver of the value of the company, then you look at it the right way.
Perfect. Very good. Thank you very much, Scott.
Thank you, Bruno.
Thank you very much, Lincoln. It's a pleasure to receive you here in Brazil. Come back again.
Yes.
And let's do another workshop some years later. I think will be a good idea.
I think it'd be amazing. Amazing. Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys.
It's a promise. We're going to bring you back again.
Yeah, I'm coming back.
Oh,
Period.
Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Muito obrigado, pessoal, todo mundo que nos escutou aqui no Seu Cliente Podcast, hoje internacional, com Lincoln Murphy, com presença especial também do Bruno Scott. Desculpem o inglês, né, gente? É difícil falar quando não é nossa língua nativa, mas espero que todo mundo tenha gostado e lembrem de nos seguir aqui no canal e sempre acompanhar todas as novidades. Muito obrigado.
Obrigado, gente.